curious teenager once asked his father, "We talked a lot about wealth. How much is it enough?" The father chuckled and said, "Well, that depends on whom you're asking to." And I bet that is one of the most urgent questions of our time. Father continued, "These days, you see a real estate signs in yard, on cars, on billboard, on buildings. I bet you see signs everywhere. Isn't that the case?" And the teenager was startled. "How did you know?" What I recall, we do not have any discussions of this in the past. The father continued, "I know you're preparing for a real estate exam. It's in our nature to see what we are thinking about," he explained. "Those signs were there all along. Of course, they were invisible to you. It's same when you buy a car. You then see the same make and model everywhere, and the same principle applies to money. If you hold in your mind and the amount of wealth you would like to accumulate, you will start to see the opportunities all along, which was already there. It may take months, years, but you will find the means to get it." Well, that is something is the core of our discussion today, which is the financial freedom, the wealth management. And today, I'm talking to one of the gentlemen who is having more than 45 years of experience only talking about the finance, of tax planning, wealth management, and all the things associated with that. Cary Prejean, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
The pleasure is all mine. So let's get started. For the people who may not know you, if you just spend maybe a minute about yourself and what exactly you do.
Well, I have an accounting degree, CPA. I was in the investment business for a number of years. I had a investment advisory firm as well, and I should actually teach this topic: investments, retirement, tax planning, all that kind of stuff, in 4 universities down here for about 7 years. So yeah, I've been around.
That's great. So which part of the U.S. you are in at this point?
I'm in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Okay, that's great. So now, as you mentioned, that is something which you have done, I think, throughout whole of your life in the past. If we just see the statistics, I think more than 40% of the Americans, if we just take the U.S. as an example, they do not have any financial plan. They
Right.
just pray that everything goes well in their life. Why is it so difficult that finance, money, this is something which we can recall when we start the humanity and when the currency was we invented? Why exactly we still struggle with the financial challenges?
Yeah, I don't know the exact reason. I think it's cultural. We're always shown, the lifestyles of the rich and famous, or the lifestyles of the rich and shameless. People in fancy cars, fancy clothes, big houses, dream vacations, all that kind of stuff. And Americans are not known for their for their rigor when it comes to saving money, building wealth, living within their means. It's very common. I had a couple of, they were prospects and became clients. It was a couple. They both made about $150,000 a year, right? They showed up to my office, each driving their own Jaguar. They were $50,000 in debt, credit card debt, and they had nothing saved, nothing. And they're in their 40s. And I just, the thing is, they had one of these they had an antagonistic relationship. So if one of them bought something, the other would go buy the same thing. That's what they do up in Jaguars. Each had a Jaguar. And it's that kind of short-sightedness and not thinking about down the road. If you're always hoping on something that, hoping something will turn out, hoping things will turn better, they usually don't. I mean, yeah, you have some of your success stories like Colonel Sanders, Kentucky Fried Chicken. He drove around the country in his 60s trying to get somebody to take his recipe, and finally he did. But that's like going to the NFL. A lot of kids come up, they want to play the NFL, the NBA somewhere, and a very, very, very small percentage, select few that have the God-given talent and work for it actually get to play in those leagues.
That's so true. So as you mentioned, that one thing is about trying to strive to attain some of your financial goals. The other thing is not even trying and just praying that whatever I have at this point, I'm pretty happy, or we are pretty happy if we talk about the family context. And just, I've seen a lot of people say that I don't care about the future. I want to live my life fullest. Now, that being said, how you get into the finance and taxations and all the things which you have done back in, I think I can recall maybe 1978, 79, when you started from your professional career, how exactly your mindset get into that? Because not everyone is born with the financial education. So how you stumble upon or maybe have a direction of finance?
Yeah. The accounting degree, you have to look at numbers, have some financial statements, profitability, what have you. I started out as an internal auditor for one of the Fortune 500 company. I wanted to become a project accounting manager for an offshore drilling company. Worked for one of the big 8 accounting firms at the time as a tax accountant. Eventually, I was hired by a small investment firm, and I went to work for them and saw the possibility of helping people with their investments, what have you. And I eventually wound up starting my own investment firm. It's kind of the path that I took. And from there, I was teaching financial courses at universities, city parish governments, what have you. So yeah, it worked out well.
So were you a numbers guy, or you just like develop your interest?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm a numbers guy, absolutely numbers guy. But yeah, the whole thought of helping people with investments and plan for retirement and do tax planning, estate planning, get their wills and their trust together. In other words, give them a roadmap. It's like, okay, here you are now. Here's where you say you want to be. Here's a roadmap to get you there. And once you can lay it out like that, it's much easier to follow rather than we're putting enough away or putting too much away. The whole thing about financial planning, and I think this is what probably makes it difficult for most Americans, is that it's one of those things that's important but not urgent, right? That makes sense? And everybody says, if you look at what's important and what's urgent, you're going to do the stuff that's important and urgent because the consequence comes now. You don't pay your income taxes, they'll come get you now. You don't pay your mortgage, they'll come take your house away. You don't do the most important and urgent things, there's consequence right now. The consequence of not doing your financial planning and planning for wealth and retirement is the consequence shows up when you're basically at the end of your earning cycle of your life, the earning years. So now you have no income, you have nothing to fall back on, and you might have some Social Security, but that's not going to really cover a whole lot. So it's about doing those things that are important but not urgent. It's kind of like your health. If you don't take care of your health, again over time, it will degrade, and suddenly you're going to have a health crisis. The consequence shows up later; it doesn't show up now. If you start going to the gym today, and you come home, like, do you look different? No. But if you stay going to the gym every day or every week continually, after a year, you'll notice a difference. Same thing with your financial planning. If you start now and live within your means and be willing to put money away for your future and look for investment opportunities, don't make any big investment mistakes. It gets easier as you go.
Yes, I think that's pretty good analogies you provided about the health. And about like what it's important, but it's not urgent. And that's the way most of the people look into that. Yeah, I understand. I'll start one day, and then they procrastinate,
Yeah.
and
When they never
they
get to.
forget. Yes, and they forget the compounding impact of even the small savings. Right? That is so. It's not like you really have to put in large amount of money. Yeah, you may have to if you start late, but if
Right.
you start early, so that is also important. Now, let me ask you this. If you try to get into a bit of the depth of why these things get started in the first place, you have seen so many clients. Uh, Sometimes they might have this mindset created because they read or they try to kind of having a very good self-awareness and try to reach out to people and have conversation. Some people, they have inculcated these kind of habits from their families because they have seen their parents saving and now what kind of lifestyle they have. What's your experience in terms of how people get these things started, like in terms of the financial planning?
Yeah. Again, I think I agree with you. Some people just, they grew up with watching their parents do it. That they were taught to live within their means. They were taught to put money away. Giving your kids financial education about saving and earning money and saving up to buy things rather than spending everything you got. One of my brothers, when we were kids, he had a champagne taste. As soon as he got money, it was spent. It was gone. I always tend to be a little more conservative, made my money last. So yeah, that's the thing. At some point you have to get that your retirement, your financial future is in your hands. The government's not coming to save you. You're not going to win the lottery. You're not going to invent something. You're not going to get rich for nothing.
Yes. Yes.
So for different people, like I say, for different people, it happens at different times. Some people want to start saving when they're teenagers. Other people, they wait till their 50s and say, "Oh my God, I need to do something about retirement."
Exactly, and it's funny you mentioned about the lottery. I have read somewhere that more than 90% of the people who won a lottery in the past lost all their wealth in the next 4 to 5 years,
Yep.
which is simply because they don't know how the financial planning, wealth management work, and either they just splurge or they've been duped by people or whatever the case may be. So that is so important in that terms. And one thing I would like to add, which I'm trying to do with my 6-year-old kid at this time, is how do we make our kids learn about money? And how do we make them understand that it's not easy just to ask your dad that I want this toy.
Right.
We also kind of started, I've got a piggy bank, and we ask him to read in the night for maybe like 5 to 6 pages, and he earned $1. And then as he accumulates, he can get whatever he wants because that is his earned money.
Right.
And then he feels that, okay, money just doesn't come like that. And maybe in future, I'm thinking that I'll take maybe $1 or $2 out later on to show what tax looks like. So give them a feel about money so that they respect about it. So what's your perspective about, have you something like inculcate in your family or your known people that how these financial planning works, or maybe you can start from the foundation? What's your approach towards that?
Are you talking about teaching kids?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. Kids need to learn. Let me put it this way: how do adults operate in the world? They generally move towards pleasure and they move away from pain. This is Tony Robbins. But one of the ways that society, or mainly the government, I guess, enforces laws is that if you break laws, if you do things you shouldn't be doing, they reduce your lifestyle. What do I mean by that? They'll fine you, take your money away. They might put you in jail. That really reduces your lifestyle. They might take possessions away. So they reduce your lifestyle. So one of the ways kids learn is by having money affect their lifestyle. Like he's saying, your son, you give him money, and at some point he can take the money out and go buy what he wants, rather than dad's just going to buy it for you right up front. So growing up when I was a kid, we had to work. You had to work. As my father used to say, we grew up on a farm, and my father said, either get a job when you're not in school, get a job that pays you something, or you're going to work for me for free. And working him for free on the farm, that was some sort of work. So we all got summer jobs. We learned how to save up. We learned. I guess we learned the value of when you just giving the money, it doesn't mean that much. When you had go work construction for the summer, and back then I was making, I don't know, I think I started at $1.05 at age 15.
Mm-hmm.
And next year I was all excited. I got a 15-cent raise. I was making $1.20. So you're working 45 hours a week and working construction, digging out foundations, framing up houses, that kind of thing. That's hard work. By the time you finish the summer and you haven't blown all your money, you could accumulate. I don't know. I think I had one summer I accumulated like $1,200, which doesn't seem like anything now, but back then it was, it was some money. I got to go on some ski trips with that money that winter. So yeah, you're not going to learn it all in a year. It's a progression of things, having it affect their lifestyle. So if they don't do what they're supposed to do, then they don't get any money. They don't have the lifestyle. And some of the ways you can affect kids' lifestyles. I don't know if my grandkids have iPhones and iPads. Taking that away reduces their lifestyle. Staying in their room early reduces their lifestyle. Not letting them go play, go visit, whatever, not watch TV reduces their lifestyle. So the consequences of doing the right thing, not doing the right thing, not doing the right thing, reduce your lifestyle. Doing the right thing, enhance your lifestyle. And that's the basic message. I mean, that's the way the world's going to treat you when you grow up, right?
Yes, completely
getting that
agree.
message to kids is probably the best way for them to learn about money.
Yes. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So I can see that, your upbringing also have some impact, how your father mentioned about how you can earn money and just work for free. And then you mentioned that at this point, there's a different definition of lifestyle. Every generation have different definition of lifestyle, but at the same time, what is important is not every person or every individual have the same lifestyle. But if you are pretty self-aware that what you are earning, how much you are spending, what would be the consequences, if those teachings and those awareness will be there, built in your mindset, then that what matters, right? Then at least you are making into a head start of having some plan. So, for example, it may be possible that the kids who may not have iPhone and the kids have iPhone, people try to judge that these people are spoiled, but you may not know that the kids who may have iPhone also getting some education about their finances, how they can plan, and maybe they are saving something else. So it's sometimes we really have to dig deeper and see that how much awareness people have and the education they are getting across different sources. So that being said, what's your perspective about the impact of consumerism, the impact of television, the advertisements, what we have, or in the newspaper, impacts the way how people totally drift away from financial planning? For example, like you see a lot of advertisements like you deserve to have this, you deserve to have this vacations. When they use these kind of words, people say, yeah, I deserve that. I don't care about savings and all. What's because you have so much of experience when the television era was maybe pretty much early, and now we are talking about iPhones. What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I mean, what drives the American economy for the most part is consumerism. I mean, we've all been taught to buy more stuff. George Carlin has a great thing about people get he's talking about fanny packs. People on vacation getting fanny packs. So they go somewhere, more stuff, You're buying stuff you don't need with money you don't have to impress people you don't like.
No, no.
But we're driven by the media and all the advertising campaigns about, you deserve a better lifestyle. If you buy this, you'll be popular with women. If you do this, you'll be cool. If you do this, you're a better person. And there has to be some grounding in yourself in terms of your own self-worth and your dignity, that you don't have to have all the external stuff to be at peace with yourself. And one of the big things I always work with people is ask them the question, what is going to satisfy you? In other words, not just, most people walk around with if I knew my life were more, better, different, I'd be happy. And happy is particularly, to me, a blindness that the American culture has. I mean, it's in the Declaration of Independence, pursuit of happiness. Rather than focusing on, where's happiness, when am I going to be happy, when I'm going to find the bluebird of happiness, whatever it is, work on satisfaction. What I mean by satisfaction is, what's it going to take exactly in terms of, instead of this general, more, better, different, more what? More income? How much more income? More money? A better what? Better health? Better relationships? Specifically, what kind of action are you looking for? What kind of results in detail are you looking for that is going to satisfy you? And again, that's going to change over time. But if you're always striving towards satisfaction, you're going to live in much better moods of ambition and gratitude and peace, rather than this thing of resentment and resignation. I wish my life were more, better, different. If only my life were more, better, different, I could be happy. Instead of, I'm focusing on making the $250,000 a year. I'm focusing on what's going to satisfy me is having a net worth of $1 million. What's going to satisfy me is my certain parameters of your health, your body weight, your BMI, your heart rate, your resting blood pressure, all that kind of stuff. In terms of relationship, what do you want to see from your partner that's going to satisfy you in terms of being in a relationship? Same thing with money. What's going to satisfy you in terms of money? If it's, and the only thing is that you can't get much satisfaction just from consumption, right? Because it's great in the moment. But how many times have people bought a new car or a new whatever, clothes, jewelry, something, some gadget that they just had to have? In a month, it's kind of like, it was exciting when I bought it, and that's, and how many people have done things like that and come away with buyer's remorse? Man, I wish I wouldn't spend a lot of money, especially if you use debt to buy it. Debt is just an enslavement of future income. Your future income has to go pay off that debt. And, some people get addicted to debt and addicted to the consumerism. It's hard to get out of.
Yep, completely agree. And I think that is more towards the consumer debt. Obviously, you can take certain debts like the real estate debt, which can give you create some assets. But most of the people are towards the consumerism, buying a car or flashy device. And as you very well said, that all these things are only enticing and give you a very short-term happiness once you do not have them. And as soon as you get them, and you just, again, on a quest of something else.
Some other shiny new object.
Exactly, another new shiny object. And at the same time, I think, as you mentioned about the happiness and satisfaction, I can also add it a fulfillment. In certain scenarios, happiness may be short-lived, but fulfillment may be a long-term goal about like what you are trying to achieve in your life. And those things can only be answered when I always say in most of my podcasts is when you start spending more time with yourself. And instead of chasing what other people are having, or as you mentioned about, try to see other people's net worth and then try to see that, I wish I would have those cars or those gadgets and those things out there. So in that context, let's try to discuss about differences in the client mindset. So, for example, you might have high net worth individuals, and you might have the people who are just starting their financial goals and planning. What do you think about the mindset of a very regular common people versus the high net worth individuals? maybe in the kind of questions they ask or the clarity they have in their life, and they may ask more intelligent questions to you. What's your difference between, what's your experience around those different types of people here?
High net worth versus people who are just starting out?
Yeah.
Well, generally the high net worth people, I mean, there's a couple of ways to accumulate wealth in this country. One is inherited, but I wouldn't count on that unless you come from a really wealthy family. You've already got a trust set up for you. You can earn it, which is generally the way. The people of high net worth, generally, most of them are business owners. They started out as employees somewhere. They saw something they could do that they could start their own company. I can make this money for me rather than making it for so-and-so. So they start their own company. They're passionate about it. They're good at it because it's sales or manufacturing, construction or wholesaling. And they start their own company. And so long as they don't mess that up, generally you need a good coach to grow a business well, because most entrepreneurs are poor managers. I mean, skill sets are opposite, right? So generally you need to be passionate about what you're doing. You need to be good at it, but you also you have to be willing to not necessarily manage everything. That's one of the traps I've seen business owners get into, is they want to micromanage everything. They want it done not just the right way, they want it done their way, which not even always the best way. But people who I've met who have accumulated wealth, generally almost all of them have their own business. Having your own business, a successful business, is a great way to accumulate wealth. You can, with the expression, you're never going to get rich working for somebody else. Well, it depends. If you're the CEO or the CFO or the C-level, C-suite level executive with a big company, yeah, you can get rich working for somebody else. But again, kind of like the NFL, a lot of people would like to get there. Very few do in terms of numbers. But yes, having your own business, and again, here's the problem. Having your own business is not for everyone. In fact, most people are not suited to have their own business, because being an entrepreneur is a whole different mindset. They're optimistic. They see opportunity where other people see risk. They're willing to take action. They make things happen. Most people look at that and say, wow, that looks way too risky. That's too, I'd rather just give me my job, my safe job that I can work 8 to 5 and go home. But yeah, the people of wealth generally, in my experience, have been people that have started their own businesses and been successful at it. Having your own business allows you to, I guess, leverage your time. You're making money off of other people. Your business makes money because you have all these people working in your business. They're making money for themselves, but they're also making money for the company. So it kind of leverages the whole thing. And yeah, you can accumulate wealth a lot doing your own business.
Cool. And what about the common people? What kind of questions they generally ask? And sometimes maybe you give some kind of advice that instead of asking these questions, you should ask these kind of questions, which will help you for the financial planning. Any kind of example around that?
It depends. If you have people who are serious about accumulating their wealth, having a retirement plan, that kind of stuff, they'll ask questions like, how much should I save? How much is enough? What should I expect to live on? They'll ask those kinds. They'll ask because they don't know. So, generally you have some good financial planning software. If you want to give an equivalent of, say, $10,000 a month today, and you're going to retire 40 years from now, and you assume an inflation rate of, say, 4%, it'll tell you what that $10,000 a month is going to be. And assuming some constant rate of return or average rate of return over the years, if you put away this much money, you'll have this much to live on, and it'll afford you X dollars in future dollars. But generally, most people, a lot of the younger people today, they're not concerned about investing or saving, or they're very much caught up in culture, pop culture. But yeah, so they don't even ask questions. Don't bother me with that.
Yeah, and this is something which I think as a society we really have to think about. Even the baby boomers. What I was reading through some of the articles in their books as well is like by the time they retire, which is like 20, 25, 30 and something, there are a lot of baby boomers who are struggling to get the right health care, get the right amount of money, which they can have a respectful and decent life. That itself is one of the problems, and more so now. I think gone are the days when we get pensions or some those kind of stuff. Now it's more about 401k, and most of the people are like small business owners. So if they do not start by themselves, so they don't have employers to push them back in that perspective. So I think in future, the situation would be very much serious if people do not start working on their financial goals and try to discuss with the experts like you. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Can you rephrase the question just a little bit? I'm not really sure exactly.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the question is like, as we do not have those previous tools like pensions, and we do have 401k, but again, that is something also not available for everyone, and specifically for small business owners who are not employees. So those sorts of income, which was there, at least people was putting away, not maybe through their will, but they're getting some money out of it. Those leverage is going away as well, which is more important for people to take their financial goals in their hand. So what's your perspective for the future generation here?
Yeah, there was a shift in the 1970s where it used to be if you worked for a company pretty much your whole life, you were tied with a pension. There's job security in that. Now that shifted with the invention of the 401k and the IRA. They shifted the responsibility, the burden of providing for your retirement to the worker from the employer. So now more than ever, you have to be responsible. You have to be accountable for generating a retirement fund or accumulating your own wealth. Ain't nobody coming to rescue you. It's up to you.
Yes, rightly said. So let's go towards the kind of end of our conversation. Two things. So first question is, what are the few suggestions you give to the people who are starting up? Maybe like 1, 2, 3, that these are the things to get started. Obviously, there's no one answer, but to give them a right direction. So what maybe like 3 suggestions you may give to people who would like to start understanding their financial current status and maybe try to plan ahead?
Right. Number 1, live within your means. Live on less than what you take home. You have to do. Otherwise, you can spend everything. You're not going to have anything in the future. Number 2, pay yourself first. You need to pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. That's one of the biggest secrets of wealth accumulation. I used to teach a course on that called 7 Secrets of Financial Freedom, and the number 1 was pay yourself first. And number 3, you got to stay with it. You got to have a plan. You got to review your plan. Just don't put a plan together and I think that's going to be it the rest of your life. Things will change over time. And there are different classes of investments. There's times when you want to be in stocks or stock mutual funds. There's times you want to be in bonds. There's times when you don't want to be in any of that. You want to be more in real estate and maybe precious metals or something like that. Most financial institutions are geared just to the financial assets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, that kind of thing. There are different retirement companies, if you look at a retirement account, where you can actually put real estate into a retirement account, IRA or a solo 401k or something like that. Or, this one company I talked to a few weeks ago, they have people with cattle in their IRA. Wow. Real estate. They invest in startups. They loan money. They make loans out of their IRA. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. You just have to find out. Don't just go in blindly and I'm going to get me some stock mutual funds and everything else. I think we're pretty close to a major sell-off in both bonds and stocks with the amount of debt that's been accumulated over the last 30, 40 years. It's just unbelievable. And debt bubbles always have a nasty way of ending badly for everybody. So, you want to be careful. You can't just blindly go ahead and do a plan. You need to pay attention. There's times to be in stocks and bonds, and there's times not to be.
Yes, rightly said. So just to summarize what you mentioned, the first is live within your means, pay yourself first, and create a plan to get started. And for pay yourself first, if people are wondering what exactly, if they're hearing the term first, just try to Google it out. There are a lot of people, I heard pay yourself first from Robert Kiyosaki in Rich Dad and Poor Dad as a part of when I was learning. So you can try get these 3 steps. And as you mentioned, there are a lot of instruments to get started. If you would like to get started, maybe you can have a low risk, try to maybe buy some stocks, get into real estate, IRA investing. And there are a lot of instruments out there specifically for the people in the US. I have audience in other countries as well. So if you are, just try to see in your country, what are the people doing, and invest maybe a very amount which you are comfortable with, because you have to take a baby steps before you just try to put everything, all your eggs in one basket. And so I think that's a fabulous advice from that. So last thing, if people would like to reach out to you for financial planning, wealth management, or any tax related stuff, where they can reach out to you, what is the best mediums?
Right. Probably the best place to reach me would be my website, strategicbusinessadvisors.org. There's a contact page. In fact, there's you can book an appointment with me. There's a calendar on there. You can. Mm-hmm.
That's great. So the information, I'll put it in the show notes once the episode is out. And that's being said, Cary, thank you so much for providing your insights and time for the discussion. And I wish you all the best for your future endeavors.
Yes, thank you. I've enjoyed being on your podcast.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
All right.